Do you believe that the most innocent, pure sound can be the most horrifying thing you will ever hear? If your answer is no, then you need to listen closely to what happened on Route 13. 3 weeks ago, an ordinary day turned into a local legend. A demolition crew was clearing out the basement of the Black House, a place that has been a festering wound on the edge of the woods for over 5 decades. They were supposed to find nothing but crumbling mortar and ancient dust. Instead, after breaching a non-load-bearing wall in the far corner, they found a small, rotten wooden crate. Inside, they found a grotesque collection of cloth dolls with wide, unnerving glass eyes, all staring straight ahead, and a single, grubby, old cassette tape. When the tape was played on an archaic player, there was only one sound: children laughing, giggling, a chilling, echoing laughter that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. And then, 2 of those workers, a father and son, vanished without a trace. The local police declared it a simple runaway case, but the remaining crew knew better. They talked about the tape, about the way the laughter had sounded wrong. I'm David, an urban explorer and researcher, and this is the deep dive, the raw footage, and the haunting reality of what we encountered when we tried to retrieve that single piece of evidence. The Black House. Even the name feels heavy and oppressive. It's not just abandoned, it's rejected. It sits back from Route 13, shrouded by ancient, twisted pines that refuse to let sunlight touch the scorched siding. Locals treat Route 13 like a cursed boundary, and once you see the house, you understand why. This place was the St. Jude Orphanage until that infamous night in 1974. A fire, declared accidental, took the lives of 12 young children and 2 devout nuns. The official report said the building burned to the ground, but it didn't. It just burned black, the damage visible proof of the tragedy. The rumors, though, suggested something far worse than structural failure. They whispered about voices, about hymns, and about the high, piercing laughter of children who, according to the records, should have been sleeping when the fire started. My partner Sarah and I drove out late. Sarah, my trusted camerawoman and skeptical voice of reason, was not thrilled. She does this for the clicks and the facts, not a phantom giggles. "Look, David," she insisted, adjusting her lens and checking her battery levels twice. "This is it. Last one for the season. 2 guys skipping town with a bad mortgage does not equate to a demonic nursery rhyme. We're going in, we're finding that original cassette, we're proving the sound is a localized echo or a hoax speaker, and we are going home. No exceptions." "I hear you," I replied, feeling the familiar adrenaline rush that always preceded a break-in. "But just look at the details. The tape wasn't some store-bought music album. It was a high-grade recording cassette, the kind used for official documentation. It suggests someone was recording something in St. Jude before the fire. And the way the remaining workers described the laughter, it wasn't a quick ha-ha. It was a sustained, reverberating sound, a sound that filled the entire basement." "Fine," she sighed, checking the rearview mirror nervously. "But I mean it."
It was crystal clear, a sound of innocent amusement, utterly foreign to the rotting environment. It came from somewhere in the central basement, maybe 50 feet away, near the abandoned boiler. The laughter started soft, like a child covering their mouth, but then quickly gained volume, escalating into a terrifying, sustained peal, the sound of a child who had been searching and had just found you. I couldn't breathe. My heart slammed against my ribs. Was the tape somehow playing? Was it a localized speaker? My mind raced through logical explanations, but the sound felt too real, too present. "David? Anh có nghe thấy không? Đó là cái gì vậy? Sarah whimpered, her camera shaking violently. Stay calm, Sarah. It has to be a localized echo. Or the workers left something behind. Don't move. No, it's right there. It's moving. The laughter stopped abruptly. The resulting silence was a physical blow, heavier and more menacing than the sound had been. We stood frozen for 10 seconds, flashlights pointed into the void, waiting for the wind, or the rats, or the rational explanation. And then the laughter started again. This time, it was directly behind us. Sarah screamed, a pure, animalistic sound of terror. She didn't run towards the basement exit. She bolted into a different, narrow corridor on the opposite side, trying to escape the immediate threat. All my carefully constructed rationality collapsed. I wasn't prepared for sound that followed you. I realized the sound wasn't coming from one child. It had changed. It was a complex, layered sound, as if multiple children were now enjoying the game, and I was the reluctant new participant. I sprinted after Sarah, my flashlight beam bouncing wildly. The narrow secondary corridor was dark and lined with decaying lockers. It led us to an area not marked on the blueprint, a large, cold room that looked like a former industrial washroom, now a dumping ground for broken furniture. I found Sarah. She wasn't running anymore. She was paralyzed, staring at a small, heavily padlocked wooden door in the far wall. "Sarah, for God's sake, we need to get out. Run!" I yelled. I can't run," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Listen to it, David. Just listen." I approached the door. I didn't hear the laughter now. I heard something much worse. A faint clatter of wooden toys, a small tin wagon being dragged across a floor, and whispering. It was faint, but distinctly multivocal. They were repeating one single word: find. Who would have padlocked a room in a building that burned down? Who was playing with toys? Was this the final hiding place? The combination of the sound and the locked door pushed me past fear into a kind of desperate fury. I grabbed my heavy-duty crowbar and began prying at the rusted lock and the door jamb. The wood was old and weak. It took 3 violent heaves before the entire door buckled and ripped away from the frame. The light of our flashlights cut into the room. It was small, dusty, and felt immediately different. The air was not damp, it was dry and still. It seemed to have been a playroom. The walls were faded yellow. There were shelves, now bare, and a disturbing sight. The chalk drawing. A huge circle drawn high on the wall, and inside 12 small figures holding hands. In the center of the floor was a tipped-over box of dusty crayons. It was empty. Completely empty.